Hello, Nova Nation. Welcome back to Cats on the Court, our women's basketball episode. I'm David Szczepanski.
I'm Madison Hodges.
And I'm Nathan Mathur.
Again, similar to men's basketball, one of our final episodes of the year, perhaps the final one. A lot to look back to this season. A lot of positives as well. But we'll start with the biggest news over the past couple of days. Maddie Webber, the sophomore star guard, entering the transfer portal. Talia Goodman and On3 Sports reported this a few days ago. Webber, player that averaged more than 13 points per game, scored 18 points against Belmont in the final WBIT game that Villanova played in the semifinals. Just kind of early initial reaction and thoughts to Maddie Webber entering the transfer portal, because she was a big piece of this offense and big piece of this team, and she's going to be missed a lot here.
Yeah, Webber was a key player for this team. I feel like she was like that second man right behind Jasmine Bosco, who was there to pick up, around the shooting or the rebounding. I think she was that person, so she's somebody that we're definitely going to miss and was definitely a key player for this team. I'm not too all surprised that she is entering the transfer portal, as she did improve from her freshman year. So she feels as though maybe her talents can be used better somewhere else at a different school.
It seemed like a time of development for the women's basketball program, especially behind Webber, Bosco, and then Ryan Allen was really coming on strong near the end of the year. And when you lose a big piece like that, it's going to be an interesting retool now. I thought we were moving in the right direction as a program in general. Now there's a lot of uncertainty. We hope Bosco stays as well. Just not really sure how things are going to shake out now until June.
And I think a lot of that has to do with, the media rights in the Big East for women's basketball is not good. You have a conference that is led by UConn. It's not really competitive, at least over the past 5 seasons. So it's tough for Villanova to kind of continue that ascendancy. But hopefully, as you said, Nathan, Jasmine Bosco, stays for at least one more year, because, she was fantastic. And so, phenomenal. She was great for this Villanova team. Also want to talk about Denae Carter, and it's not confirmed that officially that she is back, but I know that Coach Dillon at one of our press conferences towards the end of the season talked about, they were working on getting Denae Carter back in a Villanova uniform. When you lose a player, like Maddie Webber, you would love to have other veterans, especially a player like Denae Carter, continue to stay on the team, because, you look at, Carter had some injury trouble, unfortunately, her first few years here at Villanova, played a full season last year. She was really good offensively, but also defensively. And I think really what you saw this season with Denae specifically was, the past few years she was able to work with Christina Dulce, who in my opinion was the best rebounder in the Big East and is truly one of the best in college basketball. And seeing the way that Christina had went about her business, I think really helped Denae Carter. And I'm hoping, and I think, as long as she stays healthy, she's going to have a monster season for Villanova next year, assuming she stays. So kind of just thoughts on, the overall offseason, but also, hopefully Denae Carter staying here on the main line.
Yeah, like what you had pointed out, she was a monster rebounder for this team. She probably led the team in rebounds. So if we lose her, that's going to be a key player on the defensive side that we're going to lose, that we really need, especially because we are not a super strong rebounding team. Like what you had said, I hope she stays as well. I think she's a great fit for this team. I hope Villanova is able to work out something with her so that she does stay. But if we do lose her, that's definitely going to hurt Villanova even more after we've already are about to lose Maddie Webber to the transfer portal.
We just need consistency, and I think in the age of the transfer portal, that's so hard to find. And to find people that stay for year after year after year, like Carter potentially can here, and that we thought Webber was going to. So I don't really want to make a projection or say what I think is going to happen for next year until pretty much the roster's set for preseason practices, and we just don't know right now, and it's kind of scary.
Yeah, and just the way that, Villanova basketball, especially the women's side of things, has kind of changed so much, unfortunately, with players transferring out, and also with the men's team as well. Hopefully, I think, that piece you obviously want to build around is Jasmine Bosco, and hopefully she stays here at least one more season. Now I want to transition to talk about, our favorite game of the season. There were a lot of good options, because this is a Villanova women's team that, really overperformed the expectations that were set for them in the beginning of the season. Many people, including myself, thought that this was going to kind of be a bridge year getting to next season, assuming that hopefully Maddie Webber had stayed. Unfortunately, now we know that she's not. But, kind of being that bridge year. But I think Villanova continued to prove a few things this year. And most importantly, they proved that Coach Dillon and this Villanova coaching staff is extremely committed and talented to, getting the best out of their players. And, it's unfortunate, like I said, that players have developed so much at Villanova and then went to other programs and succeeded. But this coaching staff is really good, and I think the overall, attitude, the overall vibe around the women's program is really good, and hopefully they can keep that up next season. But a lot of good wins this year. I think just what impressed me the most was just, the grittiness of the team on both sides of the basketball. Even when they were, undermatched or, overmatched, I should say, they really did everything they could to keep battling. So, what impressed you guys the most this year about the team, but also, favorite game, and I'll give mine, I guess, at the end.
Yeah, definitely. This was definitely a revamp, restart kind of team this year, especially because they had lost so many of their players last year. So there was a bunch of new players on this team. So it was kind of like a rebuild season for them, but they were able to rebuild and kind of make a strong run throughout the season. Unfortunately, they didn't make it into the NCAA tournament, but made it into WBIT, and they actually did pretty well in there. During their tournament time, they had beat Boston College, which is personally my favorite game that they had played. I felt like they did a great job. I feel like everybody was involved on that team, from the shooting to the rebounding to the defense. I feel like everything was clicking. We also saw Ryan Allen really go off and show what her best game looks like during that game. And then Jasmine Bosco continuing what she has always been doing the entire season. And then Denae Carter coming out as well and doing what she does again on the defensive end as well. So this was a game where it was a team effort and everybody was together. And it was so nice to see that. And unfortunately, we may not be able to see that again next year, but hopefully we will be able to see that kind of same energy going into next year.
Like you said, David, I thought this would be a rebuilding or a bridge year as well, but the overachieving, I think, was exemplified perfectly in the game against St. Joe's. The second matchup against St. Joe's in Hawk Hill. I'm going to say that's my favorite game. I remember we talked about it in the last Women's Cats on the Court episode, and you were a bit hesitant, didn't know, because St. Joe's had drastically improved. They were the 1 seed in that tournament, and I was confident. And thankfully, I was right, because the mental block is to beat a team twice, especially after the first game where we dominated St. Joe's. But then again in the second one where it was a lot closer, we found a way to win in the end, and it was just so gratifying to see. Obviously, we couldn't win the trophy, but moments like that give me hope for the future.
Yeah, and that's also my favorite game. And you really can't go wrong with sweeping the Hawks this season in 2 games, and really one of the best seasons that St. Joe's women's basketball's had in some time. And Villanova played really well. And also, too, just the fact that Maddie Burke had the opportunity to hit that 3 and to seal the game for Villanova, really, or at least to give them a lead, which was the eventual game winner. I mean, a player that has been here for so long, that really embodies what Villanova is and the Villanova culture, especially around this women's program. So that was just great to see. But some other, I think, notable games. The Boston College game I thought was really interesting, but also, the way they played against Portland. This Portland team had a couple upsets, especially against Seton Hall, a team that gave Villanova some trouble earlier this season, especially offensively. Seton Hall's defense put a lot of pressure on Villanova's offense. So that Portland game, I think, was really underrated. And going back earlier this season, the game against Columbia was really close. And Columbia at the time was, a top, at least, thought to be a non-conference, but they were playing, better than what many people thought they were going to. But also in the Battle for Atlantis tournament. Overall, I know that Villanova lost the game against North Carolina, but let's face it, they're a really good team, and they are in that top 25 tier. But also, they had a chance to steal a game against Baylor, which was ranked top 25 earlier this year at that time when they went into the Battle for Atlantis tournament. I know that was a non-conference play, but a lot of different games of Villanova I thought impressed this year. But I really think overall the St. Joe's game, just to beat your rivals like that twice, to do so, especially to eliminate them from the WBIT, that was really fun. So many fun games this year. I want to thank you, Nova Nation, for tuning in to all these episodes. And we might do another one if there's more like transfer portal news that is like, an emergency episode of some sort. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This has been the Women's Basketball Cats on the Court. I'm David Szczepanski.
I'm Madison Hodges.
And I'm Nathan Mathur.
And go Cats!